So when you're doing simplifying square roots, first you have to know how to find your square root. We do that by finding our perfect squares. Perfect squares are just a number times itself. So 1 through 15 are listed at the top here. You'll have to memorize these to be able to get into my room for the rest of the week. So make sure you know what you're doing. Very first one is to note that squared just means times itself. So here, if I have 1 squared, that's 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, on and so forth. They're the first ones through 15. Now when you're doing this, the goal is to find your perfect squares. So, if you know what the perfect square is, you know that because you're working backwards. It's like taking my answer here, taking the square root, and that would give me 4. So the square root of 16 is 4. Now we didn't go high enough to get past 225 for our perfect squares, but if you memorize all the way through 20, you would know that the square root of 400 is just equal to 20. Now when there's a number in front, all that means is 3 times the square root of 400. If you're doing 3 times the square root of 400, and you know the square root of 400 is 20, that just becomes 3 times 20, aka 60. Now you can only do it like that with this shortcut if it's a perfect square. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can do it following these 3 steps, where you find what numbers go into 32, and then find your perfect squares, and on. So I'll show you one like that. So I know my factors of 32 are 1 and 32 and 2 and 16. There are more, but I see 16 and I know 16 is a perfect square. So that would be like saying the square root of 2 times the square root of 16. Square root of 2 was not on my perfect square list up here, but the square root of 16 was. So that's like saying the square root of 2 times 4. If you were to type the square root of 2 in to your calculator, it will give me a decimal. The whole point of this is to not end up with decimals. You do not want any decimals for any of this. It's whole numbers or whole numbers with radicals. So, because 2 only has numbers that go into it that are 1 and 2, aka something that is not a perfect square, I can just say my final answer is 4 square roots of 2. Same thing I had right here, I just wrote it the other way because your whole number is going to come before your square root, or your radical. This symbol is a radical symbol. Now there's another way that has the calculator do most of it. So I'm going to write the steps right here. First you're going to click on the menu button, and then you're going to go to where it says number. That's number 2. And then you're going to go to where it says factor. That's number 3. Now once you do that, you put whatever is underneath your radical, aka your radicand, in the calculator. So right here it says factor, and I'm just going to type in the whole number, not the radical symbol, just the 147. Then I'm going to push enter. Here it tells me there's 3 and 2 7s inside. I got the 2 7s because it says 7 squared, which is 7 times 7. So I'm going to write it out like this. 3 times 7 times 7. Now, once you do that, you can figure out by simplifying if you have a pair, you can remove it from your radical. So 3 doesn't have a pair, but 7 is a pair. Now when you have a pair, you can remove it. When you remove it, you're only going to take 1. So you circle both, but on the outside of your radical, only 1 7 comes up. That's because if you were to do 7 times 7, that's 49, And if you take the square root of 49, that's 7. It's doing extra work if you were to simplify this. So once I take it out, it's gone. It's on the outside. And what's left is 3. 3 is not a perfect square. So my final answer is 7 times the square root of 3. So if I keep going, here I have 8 times the square root of 128. So I'm going to go menu, number, factor, 128. There is an 8 on the outside, but for now we're going to pretend that it's just hanging out outside the house. So underneath my radical, I have 7 2's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now when you have these 2's, remember you're finding pairs only. So I have 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs. Because I have 3 pairs, I'm taking out 3 2's. 1, 2, 3. Now once I take them out, I can cross out what's underneath. So right now I'm sitting with 8 times 2 times 2 times 2 on the outside, and on the inside is just 1 2 that's left over. So my calculator, 8 times 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 64. Then on the inside of my house, or my radical, is 1 2 that's left. Pause the video, see if you can figure out number 6. Either method, either by using the steps up here, or by using menu, number, factor. Now I know up here is not a 150, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in menu, number, factor, 150. Now outside my house right now is a -5, so -5 stays outside the house. Inside my house is a 2, a 3, and 2 5's. Remember, I'm finding pairs only. There is 1 pair of 5's, no other pairs. So this 1 pair of 5's can come out. So there's a 5 outside, and underneath gets crossed out. There's not a pair for the 2 or the 3, but I can just do the simple math. 2 times 3 for underneath my radical. 2 times 3 gives me 6. Then on the outside, -5 times 5. If you need to use a calculator, use a calculator. Should give you -25. Square root of 6 is not in my perfect square list up there, so that's my answer. All you're doing is looking for the pairs underneath your radical. If you don't like that method, then you can do the factoring method here. On this page, we've decided that this part is all going to be extra. So if you get this part on your test, it'll be bonus. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it. If you don't want it, then don't use it. It'll be linked in a separate video, and the notes will be separate from this also.